Hi everyone, Francis Walsh here again with thedigitalmerchant.com, and today we're going to be discussing registered agents and talking about whether you might need one if you have just set up an LLC. The rules in this area are a little bit complicated and they do vary from state to state, so there's a bit to unpack. So we'll be covering all of that and also making some recommendations around service providers who offer registered agent services. So firstly, what is a registered agent? It's actually quite simple. A registered agent is someone who you must officially nominate to receive official legal and tax documents on behalf of your business. Now, this does sound like something you should be able to do yourself. However, for various reasons, not all of which are well understood, this is something the government typically does not allow. You must nominate another party to be your registered agent in most cases. So typically what the registered agent service comprises is accepting things like lawsuits, subpoenas, and government notices on your behalf. So if you're served the lawsuit, let's say, that lawsuit needs to go to somewhere. So it will be, in this case, your registered agent and other things of that nature. They'll also ensure compliance with state laws. As I said, you need a registered agent to comply with state laws. So in order to make sure you're not on the wrong side of the law, you need to have a suitable registered agent nominated. And also, your registered agent should keep you informed of relevant legal deadlines. So who can be a registered agent? There are, as I said, various rules on this depending on where you live. Generally speaking, though, most states require your registered agent to be a resident of the state where your LLC is registered. In a lot of cases, they'll require you to have a physical address rather than a PO box. That's not always the case, but a number of states do require that. And typically, you must be available during normal business hours. And the reason for this is that the government needs to know that there is somewhere that they can send official correspondence that it will be received. So, can you be your own registered agent? This is allowed in a limited number of cases. So firstly, there's a difference between yourself and your business in this respect. Most states do not allow businesses to serve as their own registered agents. It is more common for a business owner personally to serve as their own registered agent or to be allowed to do so. So this is an option that some people do use. However, even if it's legally allowed, a lot of the time and for various reasons, it's not a good idea. So firstly, there are privacy concerns. If you nominate yourself as your own registered agent, you must generally make your own home address public record. This is a risky idea for a number of reasons. So firstly, if you think about the amount of, bad actors in the world, you don't want everyone having your home address. You might not know what could result from that. Another issue is junk mail. So if you think about all the pointless marketing emails you generally receive into your email inbox, you will now be receiving similar things in paper format coming through your letterbox. Obviously, you don't want. Then aside from the privacy concerns, there is a legal risk. You are essentially opening up your home address to process servers who can show up at your house and deliver lawsuits to you by hand. Not something you necessarily want happening in front of your kids, let's say. Then there is another issue then that arises if you want to expand your business into multiple states. Depending again on state rules, you may be required to have a registered agent who's resident in each state. Obviously, that's not something you can facilitate unless you have a residence in each state, or unless you have someone who is there and able to accept correspondence during business hours at all times. So if you're expanding into multiple states, you're probably going to need a registered agent service. And then, as I kind of referred to just now, there's an availability issue. So if you're a registered agent, you must legally be on site at the nominated address during business hours, so 9 to 5 typically. If that's not the case for you in your home, then you should not legally nominate yourself as your own registered agent. So the typical solution to these problems is hiring a professional registered agent service. It will protect your privacy so that you don't have to publish your home address and leave yourself open to junk mail and to visits from people that you don't want visiting you. There's reliable legal notice handling. So I mean, accepting legal documents or accepting correspondences, it's not the most challenging job in the world, but at the same time, the stakes are kind of high. If you miss an important legal document, the results could be disastrous. If you get sued and you don't find out about it right away, it's not going to be good news. So if you hire a professional registered agent service, you're essentially leaving functions like that in hands of people who are capable of handling it. Then, as I noted, there's the multi-state business expansion problem. If you are going to operate in multiple states, you need a registered agent who's able to facilitate that. A professional registered agent service will be able to do that for you. And then generally it just saves time and reduces your administrative burden. If you're a new business owner, you will be very familiar with the fact that time is very precious. You probably don't have a whole lot of time spare in your day. So this is something you can just outsource and make your life that little bit easier. So I've had a look at some of the market leading registered agent services that are out there at the moment. Look, as I said, it's not the most pivotal service in the world, but you do need a reliable company to do it for you if that's the route you're going to go down. You don't want a company that's going to be making mistakes when it comes to transferring important documents and communications over to you. So you want a reliable service provider with a form in the area. So the one that I would generally recommend to the biggest number of businesses is File Forms. Now, these are particularly effective when it comes to small and medium businesses. They offer a range of compliance services, of which the registered agent service is just one. But they do a great job when it comes to small and medium businesses. They come in at a great price point. They've got a great data security framework. They're very reliable, and generally speaking, I just highly recommend them. Their registered agent service only costs $149 per year per state. This is just about as good as you're going to find in terms of pricing. And look, as I said, it's not something that's going to massively increase your bottom line if you find a really effective service. It's just kind of a check the box exercise. So price point is really important here. You don't want to spend any money that you don't have to spend. LegalZoom is another leading provider of registered agent services. If you're the kind of person that you like a brand name, you like the reliability of a really recognizable brand, then LegalZoom can offer that. They're obviously a very well-known company. They are also a provider of legal services. So if you would like a company that comes with access to attorneys, legal document creation, and additional compliance services of that nature, it might be worth having a look at LegalZoom. However, all this comes at a cost. It's $249 a year, which is a good bit more expensive than File Forms. So if all you need is a basic registered agent service, I don't see any point in spending the additional money. And then the last service provider I looked at is ZenBusiness. It's another outfit with a good reputation in this space, and it has a very user-friendly dashboard that I'm a big fan of. However, it's not transparent about price. Unlike the other two, it doesn't give you a direct indication of what its registered agent service will cost. This is just something I'm not a big fan of. I don't like using companies that do this. I think there's just no point doing it, honestly, when there are companies that will tell you directly what they're going to charge you for registered agent services. So for that reason, I wouldn't necessarily recommend ZenBusiness, unless maybe you have an existing relationship with them and you're happy with the services they provide. Otherwise, I would go with one of the other two. So overall, should you use a registered agent service for your LLC? Well, as I've outlined, it's more than likely legally necessary, depending on the rules in your state. Even in cases where it's not, there are disadvantages to serving as your own registered agent. There's privacy concerns, there is compliance concerns. You might not get essential documents in a timely fashion, and there are risks that come with that. So in my view, I think the prudent option for most businesses is to just hire a professional service. It's relatively affordable, it'll give you peace of mind, and it'll take one more job off your plate, which as a new business owner is always good. So that's all from me, and I'll see you in the next one.